Woohoo! Hello, champions! Oh my gosh, you guys, it is middle of June, and I feel like the last 3 weeks went by in a flash. It was crazy, and if you've ever heard the saying, off we go into the wild blue yonder, I thought I had until I experienced it. Yes, yes, yes. So, I actually set this live series up at the beginning of the year. Crazy or not, I went through and I was like, okay, this is the month that Chris is going to graduate from flight school. And if you guys are familiar with this term, it is a song from the United States Air Force. And it's off we go into the wild blue yonder. La 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 da 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 da. I don't know all the words. So I thought this would be the perfect name to give this 3 weeks. Well, after that, we found out that Adventure, the event that Tony Robbins does for its platinum partners, was happening in Thailand. And so I thought this is the perfect time for off we go into the wild blue yonder, because I would be traveling. I would be doing this really amazing stuff. In fact, when I looked at wild blue yonder, I looked it up. I'm like, okay, blue relates to the brilliant blue sky. And you know how like when you go to different places, the sky looks different? I just love this concept of vastness, blue, as far as the eye could see. And then wild. Wild is related to the untamed or not entirely explored. And that's what adventures are made of, right? And then yonder, far away. So I was super loving this whole concept of off we go into the wild blue yonder. So I thought I would come on today. In fact, I thought I would come on last week, and I thought I would come on the week before. But when we were in Thailand, things got chaos and the time was upside down, like literally 12 hours flipped. So my night was your day and vice versa. And it got to be 11 o'clock one night and we were still in the throes of all the things we were doing, and I was exhausted and I didn't make it up. So I thought that's okay, because next week I'll do it. Well, what met us the next week was totally unexpected. I got up Monday morning in Thailand. Actually, we were in Cambodia by then. And, we had a plan. We were getting ready. We had just finished seeing some of the work that the Marisi organization is doing in the area. It was an incredible experience, you guys. At another date, I will tell you about it. But the whole trip was magical. We had elephants, we had temples, working with the teenagers. It was incredible. So I woke up that morning, which was last Monday morning. Alarm went off. I reached for my phone and I had a 911 call home immediately text. And the text underneath it was, Chris, my husband, was unresponsive and in the hospital. And I was like, what the heck just happened? So, even though we were planning to head to Siem Reap later that day, do stuff in Cambodia, no, that wasn't what happened. I immediately figured out flights and started figuring out how I could get back home as quickly as possible. A little bit stressed about, I had to go from Cambodia to Thailand to, our original flights went through China, then to LA, and then home. And even the home part was getting me into Dallas, not Oklahoma. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to fly for 24 hours. I'm going to rent a car. I'm going to drive home. What am I going to see there? What's going to happen with Chris? And I was trying so hard to be strong and not freaked out. And little did I know God was on it. God was on it big time. And what ended up happening was one of the platinum partners that we were with in Cambodia had a private jet. And we had taken the private jet from Phuket in Thailand over to Phnom Penh, which was in Cambodia. And they were still with us. And they were planning to go home that afternoon to Houston. And so in working up my tickets, they got wind of it, and then they graciously invited me to go with them to Houston. So it was still a flight. We still had to go from Phnom Penh. We stopped in Alaska for refueling, and then from Anchorage down to Houston. It was a full 20 some hours of flying, but we made it, and we made it into Houston, and I had internet the whole way, which allowed me to be able to communicate with our kids who were at the hospital. Nobody knew what happened. All we knew was Chris had gone to go run some errands. He came back quicker than having run errands, and basically did not feel well, called his brother, who's a doctor, for advice, and his brother said, call 911 immediately. Now, Chris is telling us, because there's a bright side to the story, Chris is telling us that he didn't remember anything from that point. But what we knew at that moment was 911 had been called. The kids had all taken him, had gone to find him in the hospital, and nobody knew anything else. They were running tests for it to be a stroke. He was highly combative when they brought him in and didn't know what he didn't know what was happening. So he was fighting them. They couldn't get him into an MRI to see if there was a stroke, so they had to medically induce a coma. So they had him heavily sedated. And basically when I got there early Tuesday morning. He still was in the coma. There was very little to work with on the hospital bed. It was scary. I will admit that there was moments where I was like, what in the heck is happening here? He did seem to respond a little bit to my voice when I came into the hospital, but you couldn't tell. He was intubated. He was very agitated. They were doing a lot of different medications and so on, and it was just plain scary. That's what we're going to call it. It was a scary event. So that was Tuesday morning. I spent all day by the bedside, came back and spent the night there, and the doctors do early rounds. And so in the morning on Wednesday, they decided to lower the sedation and see if they could take him off the ventilator. And we didn't know. We didn't know what was going to happen. And by 11 o'clock that morning, they had removed the tubes. If you know my husband at all, he is a talker. And as soon as they removed the tubes, they were like, okay, you can't talk for 2 hours. We need you to rest. And so they pull the tube out and he starts talking. And we're like, no, honey, you have to be quiet. And so we kind of played charades with him a little bit. He was a combination of sheer joy, laughing, and terror and fear and not really knowing what was happening. And, we kept reminding him where he was, what had happened, and basically didn't know for a couple hours if he could talk. He recognized us, things like that. It was pretty crazy. So that was Wednesday. Today is Monday. By the end of Wednesday, they had moved him out of ICU, and he was doing really well. Vital signs were being checked regularly and so on. Nothing that looked out of sorts. He is able to talk. He is able to communicate. He remembers everything except what happened from the time he called 911. And we are so blessed, you guys. The Platinum community came forth with tons of prayers. Of course, there was family praying, friends from all over the world praying for my dear, sweet husband. And he has been checked out of the hospital as of Saturday night. And he is in a rehab facility where they are working with him daily for speech, for physical therapy and occupational therapy, just making sure that all systems are a go. Everything we see looks pretty good, but he does have some tiredness from the amount of time he spent in the hospital bed. His big concern, this is where this comes full circle, you guys. His big concern is what's going to happen with flight school. What you guys don't know is the day before, when the day this happened was the day before his last day of ground school. So he's been in flight school for a year, and it was going to be a potluck. They weren't even doing any instruction, and that was going to finish him up. And then the rest were just going to be flights. So he no longer was going to have to drive the 4 hours a day on a daily basis that he'd been doing since January, but instead he would be able to just go up when he was flying, and he figured he had just a handful of flights left. So now we're faced with what's going to happen. Will there be the opportunity for him to finish flight school? And we don't know. Tony Robbins has a saying, and ironically, I quoted this saying over and over on the plan to get to Thailand, in Cambodia, and that was embracing uncertainty. Tony Robbins' saying is the quality of your life is directly in proportion to the amount of uncertainty that you can handle. And, most of us want certainty. We want to know the answers. We want to be in control. We want everything lined up and all our ducks in a row. And if you can give some of that up, you live a different life. So I was really working on that, getting into our plans for Thailand. Because we didn't know. We didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know how it was going to work out. We certainly didn't know when we started that we were going to be going to Cambodia and working with the teenagers in Maurice. But it worked out that way. And we didn't know when we got to Cambodia that there would be this issue that I would have to be home right away. And now, sitting on this side, I'm embracing the uncertainty of I don't really know what the future is. So I can talk about the wild blue yonder, right? And what I want to put in place. But the reality is I just got to lean on God. I got to have faith. I got to trust that the path that we're on is the path that is planned for us. And I can make the steps. I can do the things, but I'm not in control of it. I'm doing my best with what I have. And that's really all I can ask for. So, things I can ask for you guys is continued prayer for my husband as he goes through this, and our family. We were blessed to have his 6 children were able to come. One of mine and his wife were able to come, and then my daughter came on Saturday to be with me and support me, and then my other daughter is coming in a few days. She's going to be here to overlap a little bit with her sister, and then she's going to stay and be here for my birthday and just kind of support all the things that are, falling through the cracks as we work so hard to be at the hospital and do all the things that come with whatever life hands you, right? So, what am I doing to stay sane in all of this? I am going to be picking back up with the breath work as soon as possible. This was really the first day that I have even tried to stay on my routine. So if you'll give me a few more days, I'll start posting what day I'm committed to doing breath work on, and we will get another session under our belt. And I know my nervous system needs it. I think yours probably does too, even if you haven't had as crazy as a life as I've had the last few weeks. So I'll update you more on the trip as things, as time frees up. But I do want you to know how valuable you are to me. Thank you for watching. Put your comments in the comments for me. Let me know that you're watching live or catching it on a replay. And just know that you matter to me. You are a champion. The fact that you're here in this community means that we're meant to be connected. We're meant to work together. So let's figure out how we can support each other, and whatever I can do. All right. Have a great wild blue yonder of your own. Take care. I've got some messages across my screen, so I can't end it. There we go. We'll finish.